welcome back to my channel. My name is Samantha and I am a gestational surrogate on a surrogacy journey. We are 14 weeks along and it has been such a joy just sharing our journey with you. So far everything is going really well and we're super excited for our intended parents. With sharing on social media, we get a lot of questions from surrogates, intended parents on the process of surrogacy, how it works to match and what's the steps and just insight and like what they need to know. We want to share helpful information on here because of our journey and being on this journey for many years now. We've learned a lot, so I feel like I have a lot to share. Even though the resources are out there, sometimes it's hard to track or everyone learns a different way and they don't want to read, they want to watch or listen. And so anything that I share today, just know that it's stuff that we've learned along the process, but also I'm taking a lot from Surrogate.com, which is a great resource, so helpful for surrogates and intended parents, has great information, so definitely go check it out. But I wanted to help shed some light on some things, answer some questions for you, some of the questions that we get asked in our DMs on Instagram mainly. And if you don't already, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at We Are Dan and Sam. We share our journey and you can subscribe and follow here to stay updated. But recently, one of the main questions we get asked from intended parents is, how do I match? How do I get started? I know it can be overwhelming and intimidating. It's a very exciting thing to start the process of building your family or continue the process of building your family, but it comes with a lot of fear. And so if I can help in any way, I hope this video is helpful for you. So let's get into it. I do want to do a disclaimer. I am in my husband's podcast studio right now. We are leaving on vacation tomorrow for a 2-week trip. It is 11 o'clock tonight. But before heading out on this trip, I really wanted to create this video so that all day tomorrow when we're driving to Colorado, I can edit it and upload it and get this information out to you guys. So bear with me. And also the dryer is going upstairs. So that is what it is. Again, I'm pulling some information from Surrogate.com so you can go check them out. But they have a tab on their website, which I'll link below. They have a tab on their website under the intended parent section called the 6 steps of surrogacy. And I really want to use it as a guide so that I don't jump around. My brain tends to get ADD, so I'm sorry. Okay, step 1 is to determine if surrogacy is the right option for you. I get questions of, hey, I have PCOS. Is this a great direction for us to go? I personally don't know a lot about PCOS. So depending on your situation of infertility, which if it's male infertility or female infertility, I would consult your doctor. Not only is it for couples who struggle with infertility, but there are times where a single parent wants to become a mother or father and they don't have a spouse, or a couple within the LGBT community wants to, and this is their way of building a family. So whatever your situation is, consult your doctor and then determine together or by yourself if it's a great option for you. So step 2 would be to prepare for surrogacy. What kind of surrogate are you looking for? There are 2 types. There's gestational and traditional. So with a gestational surrogate, which is what I am, that means that we're carrying an embryo that is not ours. So I'm not biologically related to the baby. The embryo is the intended mother's egg or a donor egg, and then the sperm is the intended father's sperm or donor sperm. If it's a traditional carrier, let's say as the intended mother, you do not have viable eggs and you have to use the eggs of the surrogate, then her eggs would be fertilized with the intended father's sperm or donor sperm. So that would be a traditional surrogate. So depending on what you're going through, that gives you 2 different directions to kind of choose so that you know when you go to match what kind of surrogate you're looking for. And then once you decide to go the traditional route or the gestational route, you need to decide what you're looking for in a journey. What you're looking for out of a surrogate. Are you looking for a close relationship? Do you already have a surrogate in mind? Do you need to match with somebody? What's your goal for surrogacy? Do you want a single embryo transfer or a double embryo transfer? Will you work with an agency or will you go independently? A lot of people I've realized through sharing our journey don't realize that you can go independently as a journey. You don't have to go through an agency. When you go independently, it's a little bit cheaper because you're not paying the agency fee. You have a little bit more control of the timeline because you yourself are making the calls. You're not waiting on somebody else. But the biggest thing to make note of is you still do everything the same. The process looks the exact same except for you don't have that middleman of the agency. You still do everything legally and contractually. You still go through your fertility clinic. You both have separate attorneys. You go through escrow. And so the process looks the same. And then with an agency, you have that middleman. Whether you have a busy life or a busy job and multiple jobs and you need someone directing you through this process, or you have no clue what the process of surrogacy looks like and you really want that, then I would highly recommend an agency because that's what they're there for. But if you've done your research, you have the time to put into it, you're very type A person, a list follower, you're on top of things, then go the independent route. I am very open about loving the independent journey and the control that I have over it and the close relationship we have with the intended parents, which you can still have on an agency side. I know about surrogacy. I've done my research. I know the process and what it looks like. I wanted just a little bit more control over it. And so I enjoy the independent route. If you're looking for an agency, I'll drop the link below, but I highly recommend International Surrogacy Center based out of California. You don't have to be located in California. I have heard about and looked into multiple agencies, even on our own journey whenever we first started researching it. Out of all the ones that I've looked into and met, Maria and her staff at International Surrogacy are some of the best I've seen in the care that they give to surrogates and to intended parents. I have been there, I've met with them. I wanted to gain insight on what all an agency does for their surrogates and intended parents. Their level of care is the best I've seen. So definitely check them out if you're looking into the agency route, and I promise you they will take care of you and you will love working with them. And step 3 in the process is to find a match. That is probably our number one question on Instagram in our DMs is, how do I find a surrogate? Or, you're so sweet and amazing, like, how do we find someone like you? I am very, very big on making sure there's a connection, that you match well. There's that piece of knowing right away that, like, this is the person I want to carry my baby, or for me, this is the person that we want to be on this journey with and be the parents of the child that we carry. There are so many things to take into account when you are looking for a surrogate and matching. First off, the matching process. So when you go through an agency, they help match you. Once you go through a lot of paperwork and applications and stuff up front, they help match you. So they usually have a pool of surrogates or surrogates that will be applying, new ones that will come in, that they will match you with and kind of give you profiles, little blind dating situation, and you can kind of say, yes, we match, or no, we don't. And so they work on connecting you with your similar interests and similar needs and your desires of the journey. When you match independently, it's like free game. Social media, do you have a friend or a family member you know who had great pregnancies and deliveries? Has someone offered to help you? The options are kind of endless. I have loved the power of social media and the good that can come from it, the relationships that we've built online. As most of you know, we met our actually both intended parents on social media. So our first set of intended parents, we met on Facebook in a group called Surrogates and IPs Match and Chat, where you can post a status of what you're looking for in a journey, pictures of you, what you're desiring, and surrogates can comment and say, hey, I'm a gestational surrogate. I'd love to be on this journey with you. Can we talk? Can we message? And they can message you. Some groups don't allow you to talk and message each other, and vice versa. So as a surrogate, our first time around, I was in the group for a month. I read different profiles or different posts that surrogates would make and really took into account, what are they looking for? What do I want to put forward for intended parents to see and to read and be like, yes, this is what we're wanting. Right here, basic information about us, some pictures of me and the kids, and put my best foot forward. And so as an intended parent, if you're in this group and you want to match with someone, be open and honest from the beginning. Be yourself. Post pictures of you guys, you know, what you love to do, or you, and let people see who you really are so that they can like feel a connection before they even talk to you. And so I highly recommend the Facebook group. And for our second journey, we matched on Instagram. Our intended parents had been following our first journey, and so they knew about our first journey. They knew that the intended mother got pregnant naturally. And then whenever we announced that we terminated contracts with our first set of intended parents, they said, we'd love to have a conversation with you. And from that point on, we had a FaceTime call. A few days later, we both agreed that this was a great match and we decided to move forward. So if you want to use more Instagram or even Facebook, put a post out there, put a picture out there. Hey, we're so-and-so, we're looking for a surrogate. A little bit about you, some pictures, and let social media do its work. Let people share it. Let people comment and message you, because you never know what could happen. On the topic of matching, you really want to take into consideration what you're looking for in a surrogate. So for me, I'll give you my side as a surrogate, what I was looking for in intended parents. We preferred a husband and wife couple. We preferred someone to have faith of some sort, because this is a journey of faith for us, and we wanted someone who we could agree in prayer with. We preferred someone who this was their first child. If they had prior kids, that was okay, but we kind of preferred that this was their first one and that we were going on this journey together with. We mentioned that we are more natural minded. Our first journey, COVID wasn't really a thing, so I didn't mention anything about the vaccine. Our second journey, I did mention that we are choosing not to get vaccinated, and so they knew that that was a desire of ours from the beginning. We mentioned that we would prefer an open relationship at the end of a journey. This is a big step for us as a family. Our kids are young, and we've been on this journey for so long, and we want to celebrate milestones with the family for years to come, birthdays and Christmases, within reason. We don't want to be overbearing by any means, but we want to celebrate their life. And so that was something we desired. And things like, personality. Do you guys connect? What kind of relationship do you want during the journey? Do you want to have contact? Do you want more of a contractual thing? Hey, touch base here and there, but we don't really want to have, a close relationship? That's fine too. So just write down kind of what you're looking for, what you're desiring, and what you would want out of a surrogate carrying your baby through the journey and then also post-journey. Adding on to step 3, when you go the independent route, your first step is to match with a surrogate. Obviously, think about surrogacy and what you're looking for, but your first active step is to match with the surrogate. And then from there, your surrogate sends her medical records over to your fertility clinic to see if she would be a good candidate. Once she gets medical record clearance, you guys would do psych evaluations. Once you get psych evaluations, you move on to medical screening. So your surrogate would get a saline sonogram, make sure internally and body-wise, everything looks good. And again, she's a good surrogate and a good candidate for you guys. And then once you get medical clearance, you then move on to the legal process. But when you go through an agency, you do a lot of the paperwork up front. So you do the application, you start the contract, you answer questions. And so the process may look a little bit different, but they're both the same. The steps are just kind of moved around. The fourth step would be legal, and if you go the independent route, sometimes your fertility clinic can recommend a attorney for you. You do have separate attorneys. Your attorney can recommend a second attorney in the other state that your surrogate's in, and so definitely look into referrals and find someone who fits you best and that you would love to represent you. And then on the agency side, a lot of times the agency will have either an attorney on staff or an attorney that they partner with, and so they themselves will find one for you to represent you and then one to represent the surrogate. And with writing up a contract, an agency will have kind of a template that they use. There are so many things in a contract, but I'll try to rattle off some that come to my mind very quickly right away. Things like compensation, medical insurance coverage, the relationship and the communication, if you need mediation or requirements for pregnancy, what would labor look like? Vaccination is in there now. Travel. There's so many things. So whatever you can think of, am I allowed to be in the room during delivery? Does my surrogate have to eat a certain diet? Or will she talk to us a certain amount of times each week or each month? Or what will our relationship look like? Or this and this and this. Everything's in contract. And so you go through that process with your attorneys, go back and forth and come to agreement on what the contract ultimately looks like. And something to keep in mind on the legal process is what all you'll be paying for. So I mentioned the compensation, but things like maternity clothing allowance for your surrogate, all medications and prescriptions will be covered, prenatals and prescription copays are usually paid with an allowance. So if you go through an agency, they'll give you a guide on what that looks like. If you go the independent route with research and your clinic, your attorney, they'll give you insight on what all will need to be covered or what's best to have in the contract. Another question I get asked a lot is, how much does surrogacy cost? And there's no right answer. What I've seen on average is about 70 to 100K, 125 plus. It's a lot. And being on a journey like this is already hard emotionally and physically. You've gone through loss and struggle and hurt and pain, and then to financially be hit like that, it's not easy. People sometimes take a second mortgage out on their home. But I've also heard amazing stories with GoFundMe and families and friends donating. And again, I go back to the power of social media. Sharing your story can be so powerful. There are people out there who have a gift of giving and they want to bless people, they want to give people, they have the means to give. And you sharing your story and being vulnerable and real about what you're going through and the struggle you're going through, people can connect with that. I've seen it for myself and people that I follow. They're going through an IVF journey. They simply share their story and people ask, hey, how can I help you? How can I give? They weren't planning on accepting donations from their followers, but they ended up, and it was such a blessing to them. So if you're open to sharing your journey, it can be very vulnerable, but it can also be so rewarding and so freeing and healing. And I would encourage you to do that. And on the money side, another question we get asked is, How much are surrogates compensated? And again, it varies. Does the surrogate have surrogacy-friendly insurance? If not, that's going to be a higher cost to you because you have to take out a policy to be covered under a new insurance. Does the surrogate have experience? How many kids does she have? Is this her first surrogacy journey or is this her fourth? Typically, every surrogacy journey that someone's on, there's a higher compensation, especially if all transfers have been great and there's been no issues or high risk, then she would be an experienced surrogate, which kind of gives you some confidence that things will work out for you good like they have in her past. And so when you ask an average of what a surrogate's compensated, it varies. Typically, for a first-time surrogate, it's 20 to 40, 45. But if it's a family or friend doing it for you, maybe they'll take less than that, because if it's your sister and she wants to help you out of the kindness of her heart, you still have medical insurance to pay, prescription copays, prenatals, maternity clothes, you still have items like that, but you may not have to pay as much compensation. So again, do your research and just figure out what you guys are able to pay, all in what you're able to compensate. There's usually a base compensation, but then on top of that, there's monthly allowance for things like prenatals, prescription copays, and then separate categories for maternity clothing allowance or a transfer fee because she's having a procedure. If your transfer is out of state, you'd be paying for her travel there. You'd be paying for a spouse or support person to come. If the surrogate has to miss work, you're compensating her for that. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but there's a standard compensation. So once you've determined what you want your surrogacy journey to look like, once you've matched, once you've gone through legal, the next step is to prepare for transfer. So at this point, you work very closely with your fertility clinic. If your fertility clinic is out of state from the surrogate will travel. Sometimes they'll do local monitoring appointments, local blood draws, but ultimately they'll come to your fertility for the transfer. And the surrogate will be on different IVF meds. So your fertility doctor will give her a med protocol to let her know what she needs to do to prepare for the transfer. And then after transfer, it's the typical process of a pregnancy. You have your ultrasounds. The first usually 9 weeks, you stay in touch with your clinic. So you do things like beta blood tests. So typically 12 to 14 days after transfer, the surrogate will get blood tested to check her HCG level every 2 days, making sure that number is doubling. And then she goes for ultrasound. So every week up to about 9 or 10 weeks, you go for ultrasounds, you stay in touch with your clinic. After that, she's released to her OB, which she herself will find an OB that she works with, whether it's an OB she's always gone with or someone new that she picked. So it would be in her home state because that's closest to where she lives, so that if she goes into labor, she can quickly go to the hospital, not out of state, nothing like that. You stay in touch with the pregnancy, you come for appointments if you want. And so she has her regular routine ultrasounds and checkups with her OB, and then you prepare for delivery. And usually at delivery, you as intended parents would have a separate delivery room that right after baby's born, you guys, something that you agree on in contract is, are you allowed in the room? Are you not? What would birth look like? Birth plan. Obviously you have a plan. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but what would that situation look like? And then after baby's born, you have baby in a separate room, the surrogate heals, and then your journey's kind of over. There's some paperwork to kind of do after that, check in with the attorneys, making sure the last payments have been made, the escrow's kind of closed out. You go on with your life and enjoy your baby, and the surrogate moves on. If you guys desire to have a relationship after, you stay in touch, and if not, you kind of go your separate ways. So I really hope that was helpful. Again, I know this can be a very emotional journey. It can be very nerve-wracking. One of the reasons why I share my story and share our journey is I want to give you guys as intended parents hope that there's someone out there that you can trust, that you can be close with, and that you can be excited for building a family and have that hope again. So please know that through sharing, we are praying for so many of you, and thanks for sharing your stories with us and being vulnerable. I know it's not easy, and we wish you guys all the best. Again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us on social media, but wishing you guys all the best, and we hope to share more content with you soon.